Hello, speech class, and happy Monday to you all. I'm coming to you from Mr. Lelinski's office, and I just wanted to show you guys that I am checking in for Empress Crown. I have my vintage Brewers Road Blue shirt on. It is a jersey for the greatest brewer of all time, Robin Yount. If you guys can see that there, Robin Yount has over 3,000 hits. He was the 17th player in the history of Major League Baseball to get 3,000 hits, and he is in the Hall of Fame. So he is clearly the greatest brewer of all time. Two-time MVP at two different positions, shortstop and center field. He was amazing. And just to show a couple of other items for my check-in here, I've got my Catch the Brewers Fever pennant. You'll notice that my pennant has the old logo on it, and you can tell it's the old logo because the seam goes a different way than it does on the newly established logo. I have my Milwaukee Brewers pennant. These are all from when I was a kid. They hung in my childhood bedroom, these two. I have, and these are my sort of more prized possession Brewers pennants. I have a blue on yellow Milwaukee Brewers American League Championship pennant from 1982. This hung in my parents' basement for my whole life. And a yellow on blue American League Championship pennant from 1982. This was my aunt's that I inherited. And I am, as you might say, a pretty big baseball fan, a pretty big Brewers fan. My fifth pennant hangs in my classroom. It is my Brewers Kids Club pennant. Also, you might wonder, with which class am I checking in? Well, that would be the sophomores. So, congratulations, sophomores. It's a teacher check-in. I know that's worth a few more points. But enough about me and my love of baseball, the American game, and the Brewers. Let's talk more about speech classes past and speech classes coming up. I want to say great job on your podcasts, ladies. They were effective. They did a fine job of using structure to deliver a point. The sound quality was really good. When sound was layered in, it worked very, very well. And as I said before, I miss you guys, and it is really great to hear your voices, to hear what you have to say. It's especially funny when Kayla takes a shot at GM for, talking about putting hamsters on a leash and walking hamsters. So thank you for that, Kayla and GM. All right, enough about speech classes past. Let's talk about speech classes today, Monday, the 27th, and coming up. With today's class, we are beginning, and I'm just taking a look at my notes here so I make sure that I include all the information that I need to. We are beginning our last major assessment of the year, which is a TED Talk. All right. So I'm going to switch my view here a little bit. You should be aware, ladies, that the bulletin board is your home for all things going on in class, and I have right here our key objectives for this week, April 27th to May 1st. And I actually give you a little preview of things coming up too. But what I want to show you right now is our key objectives are basically, I want you to understand what the assignment is for the TED Talk on Monday today, to take notes on 3 TED Talks by Wednesday, and to identify your own topic by Friday, all right? So before we get too far into the announcements and what's coming up beyond that, let's just take a look at our topics here. Because in our topics, and I'll show you, because this has not published yet, future topics, you guys can't do that, but I can. Future topics, this you can ignore. This will not populate until after our class is finished. This is something we would have done if we didn't go virtual. You want to go into your TED Talk topic and actually take a look at the assignment sheet. As you might know, our assignment sheets are pretty detailed in what they present. And I think what's most important about this for our first day is understanding what the actual assignment is. And for a TED Talk, the whole idea is the question, how would you change the world for the better? So that's your prompt for the TED Talk, and I want to let you know that that can seem overwhelming. But I don't want you to get bogged down in trying to think about some magical idea that's going to transform humanity. I think what's really important is that you take a look at a few of the topics, a few of the examples that you have to watch for class this week. And when you do that, I think you'll have a much better idea of how to answer that question. The TED Talk can be about a simple thing, because sometimes it's the simple things that are really powerful in how they can help change the world. So this isn't about, creating something brand new or an invention. It's about having a thought that can help us be better people. And that thought can be something pretty small. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Couple of things to note here. We have all kinds of due dates on here, and I just want you to know, some of these things say that they're due upon arrival to class. You can ignore all that stuff. Everything's due at 11:59 p.m. for all your classes all year. So be advised that is no longer accurate. Also, 3 p.m. on the due date, not so. It has to be turned in by 11:59 p.m. on the due date. Okay? Your list of deadlines for the entire assignment are right here. Your calendar for the assignment is posted right here. So just be aware that this is something you definitely need to read before you begin the actual assignment. Okay? So we'll minimize that for right now. Another thing I wanted to point out to you is the topics and examples PowerPoint, because this PowerPoint actually gives you a whole host of different topics you could look at. See if I can make this a little bit easier to see. Slideshow, play from start. Make our view a little bit larger, if we can. Drop this down a little bit, that'll be better. Okay, so if you're looking at possible topics, there are a whole bunch of things that we have here that can work for you. You don't have to choose one of these topics, but they are there for you in case you're having a tough time coming up with them. And then for your TED Talk notes on the things you actually have to watch for Wednesday's class, you have to pick 2 from here, okay? And I think one of them that we need to watch is Inside the Mind of a Master Procrastinator. So why don't we start with this one? This will be one that everybody watches. You'll pick a second topic, a second TED Talk to watch from these 4, and then you can choose one on your own. And your notes for those are due to turnitin.com by the end of the day on Wednesday, okay? So if we just get out of there and take a look at a couple of other things that are here. Your note sheet is something that you can download, take notes on, and then submit to turnitin.com. Your speech planning guide and your speech outline guide are actually for the second week of the assignment, so it's not absolutely necessary that you look at that stuff right now. And then there's another resource sheet that you need to look at, because it lays out a couple of things that are on the assignment sheet a little bit more clearly. So for example, you're going to be asked to think about tone, different kinds of appeals, which we've talked about a little bit. Stylistic devices are things that we've also talked about. You want to be very intentional about including this stuff. So take a look at the assignment sheet, see what things you want to work on as we move towards completing our last assessment for the year, and just use this as the guide that it is. It's very, very useful for you, okay? So we've talked about the guidelines. 2 things that you need to know: this is not extemporaneous, which means you are allowed to use notes. Notes are okay. I can't evaluate whether or not you're using them, so I'm just going to say go ahead and use them if you want to. You're still going to be evaluated based on how much you look at us, so that PV Legs rubric is still going to exist. But just be aware that I can't tell whether or not you're using notes, so I'm not even going to try to tell you not to do that. Secondly, there's no visual aid. There was initially going to be a visual aid. That's not something we need to use at all. So there's no visual aid requirement. And actually, there's a third thing too, and this is indicated for you on the assignment sheet. Those assignments that are listed, unless it's the actual presentation or the peer evaluations of presentation, are due on Turnitin.com. And then the other assignments where there are days where we don't have things due on Turnitin, those are due on my DSHA. And you can see that too on the bulletin board in the announcements. If you look right here, take a look at the assignment sheet. All assignments listed should be turned into Turnitin.com. those days without an assignment will have discussion posts that are due. So just be aware that that's what I'm going to be looking for to take attendance, and that's how I'll be evaluating whether or not you're doing what you need to do for a particular day. This last piece is pretty important in the announcement here. For the podcasts, you guys turned those in via Teams, and that worked really, really well. If you want to use YouTube and you're comfortable doing that, go ahead and create your video, publish it to YouTube, and then just put the link into Teams, and I'll organize that onto my DSHA, and that is probably the easiest way to do that. It will definitely work if you would rather just take a video and save it to your computer, but it's really, really important that if you save it to your computer and don't use YouTube, that you upload it as an MP4 file. If it doesn't say .mp4 at the end of the file, it's not going to work, and we'll all have a very difficult time accessing it. So if you have trouble with that, just let me know. I'm happy to help you with that. That's not a big deal to have to help you with that, but make sure that we handle that before it's a little late in the game. We don't want to be dealing with that on May 13th when we're actually supposed to be watching presentations, okay? As always, ladies, ask questions if you have them, okay? I am here 1 to 2:30 p.m. is my Dasher time for the last few weeks of the school year. I think it's really helpful to video chat if you have questions, and I'm happy to do that. In fact, I love my family very much. I love my kids more than I can ever express in words, but it is great to have some interaction with people with whom I do not live. So by all means, send me a note on Teams. Let's chat about things. Let's work out the questions you have as efficiently as we can, and that's usually in a face-to-face conversation. The last thing I want to share with you is about the final. Initially, we had a proper final exam scheduled that dealt with reading a speech and analyzing the speech for structure and purpose and effect. And we are doing away with all of that. Instead of doing that, what we will do instead is we'll have a reflective piece on what you have gained from this class and what was challenging about going through the assessments for this class. It's going to be very informal. It's only going to be a few paragraphs long, and it'll take place during the final exam day on May 21st, but it's really more of a reflective piece on what this class has meant to you than anything else. So be aware that I am not looking at this like a regular final exam. I'm not even calling it a final exam. It's going to be a final reflection. And we can talk more about that as questions come up as we get closer to that date. But I just wanted to let you know ahead of time that that's what the plan is for the final. So just be aware. It's been good talking to you, even though I'm just kind of talking to my computer right now. I hope that these videos are helpful for you. And as I've said to you ladies before, go outside, be appropriate in maintaining social distance from each other, but interact as much as you can online. Get out the door, enjoy your family, do the things that you love as much as possible. Just to remember that even though these times are challenging, we are here for each other, and you can still do some really great things. So until we talk again, this is Mr. Linsky, and I hope to talk with you and see you soon. Take care.